Hey guys, we are live with Ben and it is debate night. I have a great lineup. We have some great candidates and they want what you want, what's best for your community and what's best for your country. We have a great crowd here. We are at the 10-7 Cafe. And before we get started and I introduce everybody, I want to thank every one of you who come out today. I want to thank everybody who takes part in the political process, all you watching online who hopefully are not fighting by the end of this. That would be great. I want to say thank you to Brent Deneuer and the 10-7 Cafe for allowing me to put this on. Matthew Tape for making sure that you can watch it live. We got Chris over here, and he is the sound guy. So if anything goes wrong, we're going to blame you, Chris. Chris Glass from Wellsburg. So the idea about tonight is to get informed, take part in the political process, and really have a reason to get out and vote October 21st. So how it's going to work? They're going to do introductions, and then following that, we're going to go into a little bit of a debate. Now, each candidate will have 3 minutes to start, and they will talk about whatever they want to talk about, whatever issue or argument they want to bring up. The other candidates will have 2 minutes to respond each, and then the lead candidate will then wrap that up with a 2-minute follow-up. So let's get started. We got Mark Vercouteren from the Green Party. We got Tony Walsh from the NDP. Katie Omstead from the Liberal Party, John Balagtas from the PPC, the People's Party of Canada, and we got David Epp from the Conservative Party. So we're going to start off 3 minutes with Mark Vercouteren.
Well, my name, as you heard, is Mark Vercouteren, the Green Party candidate for the Chatham-Kent Leamington riding. And this has been a very different election for me because this time I'm running for the Green Party in a situation in which Green Party has been winning elections federally and provincially. More than anything else, what we've been hearing for the past few months, disaster after disaster, and the cause is climate change. The fact of the matter is, people are really starting to get serious about this because we know if we don't start getting serious about it now, it's going to get a lot worse. And that's why I'm running once again for the Green Party. Now the thing is, I understand that there's more to a government than just focusing on the climate. There's the fact that we need to deal with the housing issue, the opioid crisis. We have to deal with the economy. We have to deal with infrastructure and with the global market. And the Green Party does believe in dealing with more. We have a platform that's fully costed and tested out. And it is one that's based on real solutions. Solutions been tested in other countries and proven to work. And these are solutions that are not just on the left or the right, but on what it takes forward for everyone to go forward together. And that's why I truly believe in the Green Party and what it stands for. And that's why I'm running once again to be your MP in the Chatham-Kent Leamington riding. My name, as you heard, is Mark Vercouteren. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, we're going to go to David Epp.
Hi folks, I'm Dave, your Conservative candidate here in Chatham-Kent Leamington. And as most of you know, this election comes down to two main issues, affordability and integrity. People are finding it harder to get ahead and they're worried. And they wonder if they can trust their government to lead ethically. Over the past few months, I've had many conversations while door knocking in Chatham and the surrounding towns. Spoke with a young family the other day out on Indian Creek Road. They were both working hard to make a better future for their kids, but they also shared their worry that the government was handing their kids a mountain of debt. 2015, Justin Trudeau promised a balanced budget. Remember that? He said by 2019, budgets balance themselves. It used to be that people felt guilty about deficits, but now they seem to brag about them. We're in the middle of an election campaign, so you're going to hear billions of dollars of promises flying around. Please remember this, folks. Governments don't have money. Governments of any jurisdiction, of any color, they don't have money. Governments have the power to take money because we as citizens elect them. Governments take money through taxes or through borrowing, which incur interest costs in present budgets, and they transfer debt liability to our kids and our grandkids. So who do you trust with your money? Despite a relatively strong economy, the past 4 years of Trudeau's deficits can only mean reduced social spending in the future or higher taxes, or both. Please remember also in 2015, Justin Trudeau campaigned on improving life for the middle class. Instead, he raised taxes on 80% of middle class families, costing the average household $800. His carbon tax makes everything from gas, groceries, home heating more expensive while doing nothing to reduce emissions. And so the Conservative plan, it focuses on tax credits to lower people's cost of living. Rather than tax and spend, we believe a dollar is best kept in your pocket. And innovation and technology, those are the first steps to address our climate concerns. I also clearly remember a conversation I had with a senior living on the outskirts of Merlin. He shared his concern about the cost of living, but also his concern with respect to the integrity of the present government. Despite promising to do politics differently, Justin Trudeau has been the first Prime Minister in Canada ever to be convicted of violating the Conflict of Interest Act, not once, but twice. A Conservative government will work to restore integrity and accountability with a plan to put more money in your pocket to help you and your family get ahead. And you can be proud of a Conservative government that will represent Canada at home and abroad with honor and integrity. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, now we're going to go to Katie.
Thank you so much. Thanks to Ben Labadie for hosting this evening and for the countless hours and financial input that he has had to ensuring that democracy gets across this riding. He's done it at the municipal, the provincial, and now at the federal level. And I don't see this happening in many communities across Canada, so I think he definitely deserves praise for tonight and all that he's done online. My name is Katie Omstead, your Liberal candidate here in Chatham-Kent Leamington. I'm an educator, community advocate, and committed volunteer. As a volunteer, I sit on boards and councils, including a local credit union and a refugee settlement organization. I have held leadership positions at the national and international level, fighting for human rights, women's rights, and security. I have worked in the not-for-profit sector with small businesses, government, and throughout our education system. All of this experience gives me the unique perspective to help our community in Ottawa. I would be honored to fight for everyone in our community. In every place, both large and small, for working families and small businesses, for veterans and first responders, for young people and seniors, and all those who feel their voices aren't being heard. It's time we had someone fighting for us. Someone willing to stand up and speak out for the betterment of everyone in Chatham-Kent Leamington. I was born and raised in this riding. My family has been involved in fishing, farming, and small business. I'm raising my daughter here because my husband and I believe deeply that this is the best place for her to grow up. In this community, we fight for one another, and we know that we're all better off when each and every one of us has the opportunity to succeed. I know this firsthand because I was motivated by these factors to help start Leamington Stand Strong when Hines closed. It's also why I joined the successful Save OB Leamington campaign and co-founded ONE, an anti-trafficking organization. Because those without voices need someone fighting for them. It's time we had someone in Ottawa that's proud of all that we have accomplished, someone who will fight for our fair share of the funding, and someone who believes that this community deserves better. I decided to run to be your next MP because I believe I can best represent our community and our values in Ottawa. Because I believe our future is equally linked to the jobs of the future as it is to the hard work of the past. That the farmer in Blenheim has the same opportunities as the factory worker in Chatham. That kids across our riding have the opportunity to pursue the trades or a college or university education. We've made so much progress as a country, but somehow our recovery here has been slower. This community needs a strong, informed voice fighting for you. To fight for the issues of everyone in this room, from doctors to business owners, veterans to single parents, and everyone else. It's time we had a voice at the table. I want to bring your voice to Ottawa to fight for you.
All right, we're going to go with John.
My name is John. I'm the People's Party candidate for Chatham-Kent Leamington. The People's Party is set apart from the other parties represented here because we hold strong to our four founding principles of respect, freedom, fairness, and responsibility. We believe that political correctness is a problem in our country. Canadians feel they aren't being heard, and they feel that their rights to voice their concern is invalidated and their free speech is being restricted. The People's Party is the only party that will give them a voice and will protect their free speech. We strive to be honest and transparent in our policies. Our party platform has been shaped by what is important to Canadian values, not focus groups. In our platform, we cover topics like provincial equalization payment, firearms, supply management, internal trade, healthcare, foreign policy, freedom of expression, pipelines, immigration, the environment, Aboriginal issues, and veteran issues. We know that when Canadians read and understand our platform, policies, they will see we are serving their best interest as Canadians and that the People's Party is the true conservative party in Canada. Andrew Scheer has changed his party away from conservative values, and in his own words, call it a centrist and pragmatic party. A centrist party looking to the left. Canadians are angry, definitely they are, and that is why former conservatives, former liberals, former NDPs are joining us. Canadians don't want the same fake promises and lies. They want a party with a true principled leader that will lead Canada with sound policies. So on October 21st, vote common sense. Don't try to be deceived by lies.
Okay, and Tony, wrap this up.
All right, thanks, Ben. Hello, everyone. I'm Tony Walsh, NDP candidate for the riding of Chatham-Kent Leamington. I've spent over 20 years in the banking industry. I've been helping families buy their first home, save for their kids' education, and save for their retirement. So I've observed firsthand how hard it is for folks here in Chatham-Kent Leamington to get ahead. This is an important election. People are worried about the cost of living and serious national issues like climate change and the challenge of reconciliation. The Liberals made big promises in 2015. Canadians haven't gotten the real change they were told was coming. You know, at the end of those 4 years in power, young people are still struggling to pay for their educations and move into their first homes. There are still boil water advisories on reserves, and kids are still growing up in unsafe, overcrowded homes and schools. And we're still far away from meeting our Paris climate commitments. The Conservatives are talking a big game about making life more affordable, but at the end of the day, they put cuts ahead of families, just like Doug Ford has done here in Ontario. But I want to tell you, the New Democrats are in it for you. We're on the side of working Canadians, not the big corporations and the lobbyists. We know that Canadians want a more affordable life, services like universal pharmacare, and actions on big issues like reconciliation and climate change. That's why I'm going to work to bring in pharmacare and dental care. That's why I'm going to work to save families money on their phone, cell phone, and hydro bills. That's why I'm going to work to stop the government from profiting off of young people's student loans, and work to make sure that cost isn't a barrier for any bright student that wants to work hard. That's why I'm going to work hard to push with a bold plan on climate that creates over 300,000 jobs and doesn't leave any communities behind. That's what I'll fight for in Ottawa, no matter what happens this election. A strong team of New Democrats can make all the difference for you and your family on the issues that matter. That's why I'm asking you to send me there to fight for you. I'm ready to work for this community. And with different choices, we can get better results. So let's keep pushing for better for you and your family. Thank you.
Awesome. How did they do? There we go. All right. Now that we know everybody, this is good. We're all warmed up. We still have people coming in. And if you're watching at home and you want to get here, come on in anytime. Okay, Dave, as everybody knows, you were the last one to confirm coming here. So we're going to start off the next round with you, okay, and put you on the spot first. And so everybody knows, Dave will get 3 minutes to make whatever argument he wants to make or whatever he wants to say. The other candidates will have 2 minutes each to respond to Dave, and then Dave will be able to wrap up with 2 minutes. So everybody knows at home what's actually going on. I'm not asking a question. We're just saying go. So Dave, go.
Thanks, Ben. I'd like to use this time to share a bit about what I see and what I feel. I referenced some of our standard talking points in my opening statement, and I'm sure you're going to hear a lot more canned party responses and statements throughout the evening. If you want more of the Conservative platform, more of the of those specific talking points, they're available on my website, davep.ca, or you can go to the Conservative website, conservative.ca, and read more about our platform. But I didn't get into this to see my picture splashed around or my name splashed around. I'm a third-generation Canadian. I was taught to give back by my parents, and they instilled in me the values of working hard, serving, and giving back. And over 30 years of experience in small business and ag, particularly agriculture, and those related organizations, and then working with local organizations, hockey teams, on provincial agencies like Agricorps, and national charities. I've worked with some great folks who've experienced and exercised good judgment, and I've learned a lot from them. I've been around long enough to see cycles. What the ups and downs of an economy can do to people, to real people with real affordability concerns. We're in relatively good times right now, folks. It's been 10 years since the last recession. We have many serious issues here locally, issues that really do need to be addressed. And I'm not gonna pretend that I'm an expert on all of them, or that party talking points are gonna solve them. I am prepared to work hard, to listen, and to learn. I am concerned, generally, that we're going down the wrong path, that we're overspending in good times. I chose to join the Conservative Party in 2014 after completing my last nonpartisan position, and I joined it very intentionally. I was drawn to the very first principle of the party. That's a belief in the balance of fiscal prudence, fiscal accountability, and compassionate social policy. So what does that mean practically? Remember, folks, like I said earlier, governments don't have money. Governments have the power to take money through taxation or borrowing. It means governments need to be responsible with the growth of their federal spending and debt accumulation so that we can get the help we need when our social needs arise, and they are going to. They're going to increase. That's bound to happen. The biggest threat that we have on our social programs, which we all value, health, education, is reckless spending and uncontrolled debt. Getting there isn't easy, and I won't pretend it is. It's balance, and that requires judgment. One of the 5 of us sitting here is going to represent you in Ottawa. It will be a privilege and an honor. It is not our respective national parties that are going to put us there. It's you folks. You folks that are going to elect us. So in order to serve you well, it's critical that you have a member of Parliament that has a good, solid working relationship within their party and with the leader of their party.
And that's 3 minutes. Okay, nobody put their hand up, so it goes, you put your hand up. So we'll start with Tony with the responding.
Okay, you don't have talking points because your party hasn't released a platform. Let's be honest. Conservatives, they've shown time and time again that while they say they want to save you money, they end up costing you a lot more. Chatham-Kent Leamington, we want to protect the services that we rely on. I'm ready to stand up for them. I understand that people here are finding life less affordable than ever. Between cell phone and internet bills, housing costs, and prescription medicine, people are having trouble making ends meet. Conservatives talk a big game about making life more affordable, but at the end of the day, it's going to end up costing us more. Look at Doug Ford. Prime example. Yes, this is federal, but it's in the news all the time. His cuts are hurting families here in Chatham-Kent Leamington. The Conservative solutions, they just don't work. You can't cut your way to good jobs, strong communities, and services you can rely on. But what you can do is invest in Canadians, in Chatham-Kent Leamington, instead of making life more difficult for us. So let's make life more affordable. Let's bring in universal pharmacare. Let's provide public dental care to people who need it. Let's tackle the cost of housing and bring down bills like cell phone and hydro. Thank you.
Mark, 2 minutes.
You know, the Conservative record of balancing the budget is pathetic. All they do is tax cuts, which cost Canadians more money, and the only time they balanced the budget was by selling GM stock, which ended up finding out didn't actually balance the budget. The only one who party is able to balance the budget is the Liberals. The fact of the matter is, the Conservatives have no idea how to do anything, because the fact they all just want to do is tax cuts to gain the benefits for that, and then they have to pay for the tax cuts by cutting the infrastructure that we fundamentally need for the economy to work. Not to mention the fact that, look at the last 3 Conservatives. We have Harper, we have Doug Ford, and we have Trump. Practically every example of Conservative leadership we had is pretty much showing that we can't trust them. And now it's saying, trust us. Last year, that's exactly what we were told by the provincial MPP for the Conservative Party. We would have accountability. We don't see it. You can't trust that just because you're going to elect someone, they're going to be accountable just because they say they are. That's why Scheer is not doing too well, because he hasn't shown that we can actually trust them. All he's shown is just another Conservative, and people are sick and tired of the way the Conservatives have been doing business for the past few years, and that's why they have so much difficulty in winning these elections. Let's be honest. I understand that this is very conservative riding, but the truth of the matter is, Conservatives have not been able to do well in governing, and that's why they have so much difficulty in re-winning elections. They just can't seem to prove that they can do the job.
All right, Mark. Nope. John.
Let's be honest here. Politicians will be politicians.
Yeah.
Right? They're gonna try to promise you many things, and they're but empty promises once they get elected. That is the truth. I used to be like you. I used to sit where you are. I used to watch politicians debate, and most of the time I roll my eyes up too, because I know what they're saying is pretty much empty. Most of them are just telling you things because they want your vote, right? They tell you things, very sweet things, right? I mean, even the NDP is trying to promise you a lot of stuff, but they are never transparent about where they're gonna get the money to fund all of those promises that they make, right? So you have to have somebody, or at least a party that will form government that is actually transparent to the people, to lay it out clear to the people where the money is going to come from to fund all this program. If we need to make a cut in order to balance the budget, tell it to the people. Don't lie about it. Don't tell them that, we're going to give you this, but at the same time, they're going to tax you. There. They give in one hand, they take in another. That is what the politics have been now. But that has to stop. Somebody has to stop that because the people are suffering. You are suffering. You're paying for all of these things. Don't fall for the promises. It doesn't work no more.
All right. Katie.
So I noticed in the opening that there was quite the preoccupation with Justin Trudeau. Stephen Harper seemed to have a preoccupation with his hair. Now we have a conservative leader, Andrew Scheer, who's once again preoccupied with Justin Trudeau and doesn't talk about much else. And I think the main reason for that is because they don't have a platform. The Conservative Party has yet to release their platform. Less than 2 weeks to go until Election Day, no platform. This right here is the Liberal platform. It's been out for a few weeks now. We're still waiting on the Conservatives. This feels very familiar. At the provincial level, our province elected Doug Ford. He released a tiny bit of a platform, came to power, and has made endless cuts. He's actually spent the most in our province's history, but has cut our frontline services. Everyone is feeling it. Students, patients, healthcare workers, families who have children on the autism spectrum. It's being felt every single day. I've been knocking on doors since April, and there are 3 issues that come up consistently. What are those issues? Climate change, affordability, and Doug Ford. There is a very real fear about electing a Conservative government at the national level. And I understand that fear because people are facing real situations right now. They're struggling and they don't want to see this at the national level. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the debt because right now, Canada has the lowest debt burden in the G7. Our economy is booming. We've created 1 million jobs. We have the best unemployment rate in decades, and we're consistently reducing the debt. So if we're going to talk about debt, that's fine. I'm happy to talk about debt. I'm happy to talk about efficient spending. I'm not happy to talk about reckless spending because to me, it is not reckless spending when we're spending it on our veterans, reopening the Veterans Affairs offices that were closed under the Harper government. Right. Seniors, raising the age where they are eligible for their monthly check to 67 from 65. The Trudeau government put that right back down to 65 immediately after Empower.
And back to you, Dave. You get to wrap it up with 2 minutes here.
Well, the format's actually somewhat familiar. I've had the opportunity at home to raise 4 kids, so 4 on 1 is something I'm kind of familiar with. But these are serious issues, folks. They very, very much are. It was mentioned that Canada's got a phenomenal economic record relative to others. That's after adding $71 billion to the debt. Where did that economic status come from 4 years ago? I'll stand by that from a federal Conservative perspective. Regarding Doug Ford's name on the federal election ballot, you're going to hear a lot about Doug Ford. Please check the ballot. He is not on it. Andrew Scheer is, the Conservative Party is, okay? Regarding leadership coming from this community and going to Ottawa, we need someone here that can listen to the local concerns here. You need to listen and follow here, but lead there. And so it takes someone with experience and negotiating skills, negotiating experience, to both work within caucus and then work across the aisle. That is something I am going to bring to the table. My 30 years of experience in organizations will address the many serious issues that we've talked about. I'm not besmirching them, I'm not belittling. They are serious issues that need to be tackled, but the direction that we're going down is the wrong way. Thank you.
Awesome. How'd they do for the first round? So I also want to point out how well they did when I just cut them off. Okay, it was a stern cutoff, and they did very well. So, John, we're going to go with the next round, starting with you. And you got 3 minutes to say whatever you want. The floor is yours.
So when it comes to affordability, it's been a big topic for my candidates here. Again, they're telling you they're going to try to address this issue, but they're trying to address it the wrong way. They're not using common sense. They're giving you numbers here and there that most people probably don't know where they got it from. The liberals saying the economy is doing well, but the people are not feeling the benefit of that economic growth. So we have to open up Canada. We have to open up Canada to trade with other nations. We have to make good relationship with our biggest trading partner, the United States. And we have to make more trading partners around the world so that we can sell our product, so we can expand Canadian goods all over the world. Make more money for Canada so that we can invest it here, not out there.
Okay, anybody want to tackle it first? There we go. Tony, you're good.
I want to thank John because I've never had anyone attack me, the NDP. It's always the liberal and the conservative fighting against, who's worse for the country. But we know who's best. Jagmeet Singh said it best, right? Quit arguing over who's worse for the country, and let's start talking about who's better for the country. And just because we're going to make different choices on how we spend that money, we're not going to give subsidies to oil and gas. We're not going to buy pipelines. We're not going to forgive debt to corporations. We're not going to give corporate handouts so they can just leave and leave our workers out on the dry. We can just make choices, better choices, so that we can put in pharmacare, so that people can get medicine when they're sick, so that if someone has mental health, they can get the care that they need. If someone is battling addictions, we can tackle that as well. That's what we need to focus on. That's what we need to spend money on, not on giving more money to billionaires and corporations. And quite frankly, John, you're trying to be a politician. How can we trust what you're saying? You don't believe in climate change, so I think you lose credibility.
All
That's
right. And just for people that don't know what's going on here, why Tony's gone first twice in a row is because he put up his hand. So the first person put up their hand, they get to go first. Then it's the person to their immediate right that goes after. So Mark, the floor is yours.
John, it's hard to attack your party because we have no idea what it actually stands for. The only thing we know is that you broke off from the Conservative Party over disagreement over supply management, which is honestly a good thing. The fact of the matter is, let's be honest, if we compare the American system, Canadian system, the American system, am I not close enough? Okay. If we compare the American system in dealing with the issues of they're dealt with by supply management, Canadian system, the fact is the American system is worse than the healthcare system. The thing is, supply management is a necessary function for Canadians. And I have to say, John, unfortunately, there is a lot of problems with your party. Because what we're hearing, we're supposed to be that's a party for free speech. And yet we hear that the leader is throwing out one of its candidates for speaking out against them. But supposedly, you're not a racist party. And yet at the same time, we're getting tweets, racist tweets, from some of your fellow members. I mean, I'm sorry, but let's face it. I don't even know if you can survive for the next election because I don't even know what the heck you guys are doing.
All right. We're going to go with Dave. Yes.
John, I've got to know you a bit over the last couple of weeks, and with no disrespect, I'm going to focus on some of your talking points as it relates across the economy rather than attack your party. It's not that material. You mentioned that Canada's the economy is doing well. We are a trading nation. Absolutely, we are a trading nation. Let's go back to the economy for a second. Federal tax revenues were up 6.7% last year, up 3 times the rate of inflation. We're in an extended boom period since the last recession that we came out of, the best of all G7 nations, by the way. Yet we added 71 billion to the debt again. We aren't that far away from a major turn. Canada sits within a world economy. We can, as governments, we can maneuver within that economy, but those trends are bigger than we are. And so we have to prepare for the next ones while taking care of our vulnerable. Canada, it's come up in other debates, as a trading nation, that's where our prosperity comes from. We can't eat all the Western Canadian wheat that we produce, and our avocado production is not that great. So we have to trade with others. So much of our prosperity comes from there. And so, quite frankly, we have to think ahead. We have to be able to see what's coming and prepare for that. And our finances right now, if we add another $91 billion in debt, which is what's forecast by the Liberal platform, interest rates are rock bottom right now. Add 2 points to that. Right now we're spending 8 cents, almost 8 cents of every tax dollar you send to Ottawa on servicing the debt. How can we take care of our social needs going ahead? That's what I see over 30 years, the last downturn. That's where it hurts, when we don't have the money. Thank you.
All right, and Katie, 2 minutes.
So I just want to remind everyone that Maxime Bernier was a Conservative member. He ran for the leadership, and 49% of Conservatives voted for him. Then he broke off to join the PPC. And his party does stand for practically anti-immigration, denies climate change, but this isn't something that is just consistent with PPC candidates. There are also numerous Conservative MPs and senators who deny climate change. So this isn't something that's just for one party. It's happening in another party, the Conservative Party. But let's get back to affordability that you talked about. So what have the Liberals done in the past 4 years? They've done a lot to tackle affordability. It's still a very real issue, and it's an issue here in Chatham-Kent Leamington that needs further work. But here's what they have done. They brought in the Canada Child Benefit, a tax-free monthly payment that is helping 9 out of 10 families. The old program under the Conservative government was helping the people at the top. This program helps 9 out of 10 families in significant ways. Over 20,000 kids in this riding are receiving the benefit. The Conservatives are once again proposing to bring back in the boutique tax incentives for things like sports and music. It sounds really good on paper. The issue is only your wealthiest families can afford it. Those in the lower and even middle income don't have that money to spend up front, and so they're not able to put their kids into these programs. It's an unfair advantage. The Canada Child Benefit levels the playing field. We are committed to pharmacare. This will save many Canadians money. Canadians shouldn't have to decide between paying their bills and picking up their medicine. That's unacceptable. I met a woman in Ridgetown who told me that she currently has chemotherapy medicine at the pharmacy that she's not able to pick up because she can't afford it. We should not have that situation in Canada. We also brought in 2015, a tax cut for the middle class by asking the wealthiest 1% to pay a little bit more. It's working. We are now committed to ensuring that Canadians aren't paying any taxes on the first $15,000 that
And
they
John,
make.
you get to wrap it up.
There's a lot of things here to remember, but I will try to remember them all. When it comes to climate change, any consensus on global warming isn't scientific. You gotta get this in mind. It's not scientific. It is politically driven. Okay? So when it comes to climate change, they're pretty much trying to scare you off your feet. Now, when it comes to the NDP, again, it's going back to try to promote all of these things that they want to give it to you, right? Healthcare and things like that. Doesn't want to focus on the economy. How are you going to fund healthcare, dental care, pharmacare, all of that without making any money? Money doesn't grow on tree. It doesn't just appear somewhere, right? Now, the Green Party has said that we don't know what we're doing. The Green Party doesn't know what they're doing, and they're saying from the very beginning, I think the party has been conceived. They want to take Canada, what I consider pretty much the great leap into this, what they call the Green Revolution. The Green Revolution doesn't work. Have you seen when Kathleen Wynne was Premier of Ontario and they tried to invest in green energy and green technology? Did the electricity went down? No, it did not. Electricity actually stayed high. So it doesn't make no sense. We have to stay with what works at the moment. What works? Oil and gas. We have to invest in what works. because that's what gives jobs to the people, and that's what's pretty much making Canada money at the moment. And when it comes to my liberal opponent here on my right, I have to correct her here.
10
Maxime
seconds.
Bernier did not join the PPC. He created the PPC.
You're right.
Okay? And another thing that I have to correct, the PPC is not
And
anti-immigrant.
that's all, John. That's all. And how did they do for round 2? I want to take note, there's a 16-year-old young girl right here. She is taking notes and judging them. It's always good to see young people get involved in the political process. So candidates take note that she is watching and she is writing stuff down. I'm going to interview her after. So thank you for being here. I wish more people could be like you. Our country would be much, much greater. Okay, we're going to go with round 3. Let's go, Katie. You got 3 minutes.
Thank you. I ran in 2015 and came incredibly close to unseating our incumbent in what was supposed to be one of the safest seats in Canada. Local supporters have put their faith in me again to run as the Liberal candidate, and I have been working hard every single day to earn your vote. I've knocked on tens of thousands of doors in every community across Chatham-Kent Leamington. I have been present at community events, walking in parades, hosting information booths, and sitting down at coffee shops, all to listen and learn about the issues facing community members. I have listened closely. I have brought your concerns to Ottawa and have ensured that issues important to this community, including better access to mental health care, the need for family doctors, assistance for homeowners facing shoreline erosion and flooding, and better access to more affordable childcare, all of which have been included in the Liberal platform. I have pushed hard over the past 4 years for our fair share of the funding. 4 years ago, our country elected Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, and a strong team pushed forward with an aggressive agenda. 92% of platform promises were kept. We have made real progress on climate change, reconciliation, post-secondary affordability, and support for workers, including significant investments in retraining, apprenticeship, and changes to both employment insurance and parental leave. We have reopened the Veteran Affairs offices that were closed, changed the age of eligibility for OAS and GIS back to 65, created an auto-enrollment program to make sure every senior is receiving their monthly check. This has lifted 57,000 seniors out of poverty. Canada is currently experiencing a booming economy with the creation of 1 million jobs, the vast majority full-time. The renegotiated NAFTA deal means $2 billion in cross-border trade every single day. We're experiencing the lowest unemployment rate in decades. 300,000 children have been raised out of poverty with the tax-free Canada Child Benefit. Right here in our riding, 20,000 kids are benefiting. Issues that matter most in our riding are being addressed in the Liberal platform, which has been released. A platform released almost 2 weeks ago. We have yet to see the Conservative platform. This should ring alarm bells. We know that we need to help more families. And on October 21st, I think that you have an important choice to make. You can choose the Conservative plan of increased cuts to frontline services, or you can choose Forward. We're a progressive riding, but we need to unite behind one progressive voice. I'm that voice.
Okay. Anybody? Oh, we got Dave. Not you, Tony. All right, Dave beat Tony. Okay, go for it. You got 2 minutes.
Justin Trudeau. 2015, Justin. 2019, just out. The Liberal response here locally was raised by 20 points in 2015, similar to the national response. However, recently, the Liberal candidate has distanced herself from the leader. Why? A person representing your interest, someone
Audience?
representing your interests here, has to be able to work within the party, has to be able to negotiate within and work across the aisle. We've seen what the Liberal Party does with folks that dissent. Ask Jane Philpott. Ask Jody Wilson-Raybould.
Yes.
How can a member here with that record of the party criticize, stand back, and not expect the same?
That all? Okay. John.
The Liberal parties keep on saying that they kept their promises. And they gave you a number, I think you said 90-something% they kept their promises. 92, my bad. But they didn't keep their promises when it comes to our veterans. People who doesn't blink when Canada calls upon them to serve this country and defend its honor, values, and way of life. The Liberal has done nothing but to put blockade to make certain that those heroes don't get what they deserve. Our country cannot give them anything that they deserve because they deserve more than what our nation can give them for what they have given our country. And the Liberal continues to pretty much make them go through hoops. And that is not right for a country like Canada, where people like those who serve in our armed forces doesn't blink when Canada calls upon them to serve Canada.
All right, Tony. Hey, guys.
All right, so just for the record, the NDP platform was out in June. All the good stuff in that booklet, guess where it came from? The only difference is when we get elected, we'll actually make sure that we have funding to put it in place. But quite frankly, and I'm sorry for the young person, I know that young people don't like all the negativity, but we got to try to make it a little bit more entertaining for the older people, like my dad over there. Look, Liberals have said a lot of things. They made a lot of big promises, but you can't trust them to work for you. They're working for the big corporations and the lobbyists. They say they're progressive. They say a lot of the right things, but they never end up keeping those promises. I'll give you some examples. You know, they still bring in pharmacare. They've been saying that for over 2 decades. But they won't really commit to a plan. And they've met hundreds of times with big pharma and the insurance industry lobbyists. They say they're going to bring down cell phone bills and internet bills. But their plan is to ask nicely. It's no surprise they've met hundreds of times with telecom lobbyists. They say they've got a plan for climate change, but they're only on track to meet Stephen Harper's week targets, something like 200 years behind schedule. And they give away over $1 billion every year to oil and gas companies. They say they want reconciliation, but they spent millions of dollars fighting Indigenous people in court. And when the people from Grassy Narrows went to an exclusive fundraiser to protest, Justin Trudeau sarcastically thanked them for their donation. That's not what I want in a leader. You can count on New Democrats, though. We'll actually fight for you instead of big corporations. And our plan will make life more affordable. It will create jobs. It will fight climate change and protect the services that we rely on.
Perfect. Mark.
In 2015, so is this good now? In 2015, we were told that was going to be the last first past the post election, and that was a promise. And that was an important promise that a lot of people counted on. Guess the name of the electoral system we're working under today. Exactly. Exact same system that we're not supposed to have anymore. I have to say that I think it's pretty much annoying how we keep going back and forth. Liberals, conservatives, liberals, conservatives, liberals, conservatives. Each one promising to be better than the last, and we get an exact same thing. It's time to fix the system. It's time to bring a system that they've got leaders and the MPs and the MPPs and all of us are held accountable and build a system that actually represents the will of the people. The fact of the matter is, we are going in a system that lets a minority vote elect a majority government, which means that they have full power by just appealing to a small amount of people. It's time to fix the system. Justin Trudeau did not like the options available because they didn't work in his best interest. We need to make sure that we make held accountable the Prime Minister. It's time to work and get that system in place. It's time to actually have a real system of government that actually represents what the people really want, and it's time for Justin Trudeau to stick to that one promise that he betrayed.
Okay, Katie, you got 2 minutes to wrap it up.
Thank you. I'm in the hot seat here with the Liberal government in power. So this is fun. So I'll go in order from this side to this side of the table. So yes, I am certainly willing to stand up for our community. I've done it countless times with our Prime Minister. I did it in 2014 and in 2015 as candidate. I've done it over the past 4 years in every single meeting, on every single phone call that I've had. I have expressed the really very real concerns in this community, and I've expressed when I've disagreed against policy or against decisions that have been made. I've done this publicly. This hasn't been done privately. I've done it through released statements and in many different ways, and I have consistently had the support of the Prime Minister. He is genuinely concerned about what happens in every community, including this community, which is currently held by a Conservative Member of Parliament. He has reached out, he has asked questions, and I've been able to speak honestly with him about the topics that matter most to people in this riding. Regarding Jody Wilson-Raybould and Jane Philpott, I spoke to many cabinet members about the decision. And the one term that stuck with me the most, and this was from female cabinet ministers, was trust doesn't have a gender. This had nothing to do with gender. This had nothing to do with strong women speaking out. It's an issue where there was faults on many sides, and I am not going to defend the decisions that were made by the Prime Minister, but I know that in his heart he was doing what was best for Canadians, standing up for Canadian jobs. So, next up, veterans. I know we have much more work to do for veterans, but I was in Ottawa in July being trained to be a candidate with our party, and many veterans are running under the Liberal banner this time again.
10 seconds.
And one of them stood up and told me, if anyone says this government hasn't done work for veterans, tell them it's not true. $10 billion have been invested in the past 4 years. We've reopened
And
offices,
that's it.
we've reinstated the pension.
Okay, so we are going to move on. All right, are we having fun yet? How did they do in that round, hey? All right. So I would like to see how the people are liking the format. The format is tough because you have 8 minutes against, and you got 5 minutes to battle back, and now Tony has to face this. So, Tony, you got 3 minutes. Go for it.
All right. So, I was going to talk about the climate. I was also going to talk about first past the post. But seeing how excited that Mark gets, I'm hoping that maybe he takes 3 minutes to talk about that himself, and I'll bounce off of him there. I do want to talk about seniors, though. I do want to talk about veterans, because my dad is in the audience, and he's a veteran. Listen, all seniors deserve to retire in dignity and security. Seniors invested their working lives making Canada better. But now, too many are facing financial insecurity, poverty, and isolation. I've helped many seniors in this community as a banker. I've seen it firsthand. Now, the Liberals, they continue to put rich corporations first. And they're leaving seniors to cope with pension theft, out-of-control housing costs, and patchwork drug coverage. Hundreds of thousands of Canadian seniors are stuck living in poverty, struggling to choose between rent, food, and the prescription drugs they need. But we can create a Canada where no senior falls through those gaps. I want to create a national senior strategy to ensure that seniors and their caregivers are treated with dignity. We want to make sure that drug coverage is affordable for everyone with universal public pharmacare, and by expanding healthcare coverage to dental, vision, and hearing. We want to put workers first by ending pension theft. And we want to improve services for seniors living in rural and remote communities like Chatham-Kent Leamington, and tackle isolation and abuse. And when it comes to our veterans, an NDP government will honor the special bond of mutual obligation between Canadians and veterans, and deliver the services that veterans need and deserve. As part of this process, we will launch a full review of benefits and work with veterans to determine the best way to provide fair benefits to all veterans, including tackling the issue of equal access to lifetime pensions. Veterans shouldn't have to wait weeks or even months to receive the services they need. We'll get rid of the backlogs and set up high-quality personalized service delivery by providing one caseworker for every 25 veterans. It's now 1 for 32 or somewhere around that. There's also much more that we can do to ease transition from service for veterans. And one thing that's been in the news recently is there's been a cut to the health care for veterans. And that is wrong. We need to reinstate that right away. I'll leave this for my peers here to try to.
Serving military. They're not
Okay.
even-
Is it serving military? Yes,
Serving
absolutely.
military.
Yes. Thank you, Doug.
You're welcome.
Teamwork there.
Okay. Dave wants to tackle it. Go for it.
Seniors. Absolutely, we need to respect and honor the work that they've done and contributed. It was actually a Conservative government that raised the age credit in 2006 and again in 2009 when calculating OAS benefits. And that is part of the platform, which you can find at conservative.ca. It isn't as neatly laid out in a spellbound book. All of the policy planks are there. Just Google it and you'll see it. Pharmacare. Yes, it has been talked about. 1997, it was promised by a Liberal government, again, just ahead of an election. Again in 2004, just ahead of an election. It's promised again now. What? Oh, I'm sorry, it's not part of the submission to be put forward to the Parliamentary Budget Officer for costing. So who thinks they're getting it from a Liberal government? It's not happening. Tony, I appreciate all the concern that the NDP party has for the citizens, and we share those concerns that we want. The question we have, how are you going to pay for them? A Conservative government looks at leaving money in your pocket through universal tax cut, the lowest income tax bracket, addressing our lowest income folks first, disproportionately helping them the most. Removing carbon tax, haven't gotten to that point yet, but removing that which is embedded in the cost of our economy. So we will help by leaving the money in your pocket. I don't understand how the NDP program is going to be paid for.
Okay, John.
Again, with regards to the NDP, the promises they make are very sweet. Very sweet indeed, but that's about it. And those promises will only give you a toothache in the end. Right? Because again, they don't know how they're gonna fund these things. They like to live in la la land. Right? They like to live in la la land. We're gonna do this for you, we're gonna do that, we're gonna deliver this, we're gonna do all of these things. But nowhere did they ever mention to you how are they gonna fund all of these things. Nowhere. Again, they're just wants your vote.
Katie.
Thank you. Tony, I'm glad you brought up two very important issues, seniors and veterans. So we'll go back to seniors. When I was knocking on doors in 2015, I remember it very clearly. In Chatham, in Wheatley, and in Blenheim, I came across seniors who were not receiving their OAS and GIS. They had called their MP countless times. They had tried calling the ministry and nothing. They hadn't received their checks in a very long time. These are our most vulnerable seniors. So when Justin Trudeau and the Liberal government came to power, they immediately changed the system to auto-enrollment. This helped 17,000 seniors immediately who hadn't been receiving their checks. That's just one way that they've helped seniors. They've also brought in changes and enhancements to the Canadian Pension Plan. And most recently in the platform, two big things. Changes to old age security at 75, increases of 10%, and an increase of 25% to the survivor's benefit. These were ideas brought in by seniors, brought up by seniors saying these are things that need to happen. Is it enough? No, I don't think it is, and I will be fighting tooth and nail for seniors. There are no seniors in Canada who should be living in poverty. That's unacceptable. They're on a fixed income, they have worked hard their whole lives, and they shouldn't be put into that position. Something else that we have created is a national dementia strategy. This is very important because the number of seniors being diagnosed with autism is rising daily. It's a very real problem that we're facing in our healthcare systems, in our retirement homes, and we need to do more about it. I want to talk about the same story Tony was talking about because I got clarification today because Tony's dad last night brought it up to me and I've been knocking on doors a lot, so I hadn't had a lot of time to read the articles. And this is what I have found out. Yes, the government is fighting right now, but they're fighting hospitals that are charging serving military members through the government up to 3 times more for the same services as other Canadians. So they're not fighting the members, they're fighting the hospitals so that the tax dollars, every single dollar, can go to military serving members and veterans rather than to these hospitals.
Go ahead, Mark.
Tony, this election has been very different between the two of us because the NDP and the Greens have been serious rivalry, and I have to say, actually, it's got personal on me, and I really shouldn't say anymore, right? Everyone knows what I'm talking about, which means I should shut up right now, right? But the fact of the matter is that I understand our platforms are very similar and that you do believe they have the best climate change platform, but we do have policy of no fracking. I don't believe that's in the NDP. We also have the policy of the guaranteed annual income, an idea that has been proven and tested, and I don't believe you have that. True, we both have pharmacare and we hope have covered dental. But I don't believe you also have the policy to increase the minimum wage federally as well. The fact of the matter is I do believe the Green Party does have the better platform in dealing with the climate change and dealing with the economy and with the future of Canadians.
All right, Tony. 2 minutes.
All right. So, John, nowhere you can get all kinds of numbers. It's all over. You can watch, you can just, anything Jugmeat has said, he's released all the numbers. The numbers are there where the money is coming from. Do you want to know where it's coming from? Do you want the exact numbers? Maybe. Maybe you want me to bore you with all that information right now, all the specifics? Okay. All right. So, I said it earlier. $6 billion in debt forgiveness to corporations? Don't make that choice. That $6 billion, it's only going to cost $874 million for our dental care. We can invest different amounts of money so that people get the services that they need. We can reinstate services that conservatives cut and liberals have done nothing to reinstate. Stuff that is going to make a big difference. Medicine for all, it'll eventually save us money in healthcare. People aren't getting their medicine, they have to go to the hospital. This happens. Also, dental care. We want to take care of people's teeth. Why are we not taking care of people's teeth right now? Why do you have to have insurance for that? If you get a toothache, people can die from this. I was talking to a nurse in an ER. She was telling me some of the experiences she's had because people come in with infections, they go septic, and they die. That is heartbreaking. No one in Canada should be dying from a toothache. And yeah, even if the promises are sweet, if we had dental care, it wouldn't matter, would it?
All right. How'd they do, guys? All right. So before we head into this last part of the first section of the night here, I want to thank Matthew Tape for making this available to people online, Chris Glassford for making the sound. These are volunteers that helped us. Without them, this doesn't happen. Brenton Newer for letting us use this amazing facility, and for those watching at home and those showing up to make this all worth it, and of course the candidates for all showing up because this is not easy. So thank you guys for all watching. Thank you guys, and again, we're going to be going into the next section after, which is them taking questions as well. We got Josh Hinch coming up after, where there's a candidate meet and greet. So feel free, if you're at home watching, to come over here. There's still a little bit of room left. And Mark, you're on the hot seat. 3 minutes.
NOP 1AO. That's the postal code of my family. There's a postal code that I grew up in and the postal code that I lived from 2013 to 2015. That's also the postal code of a street that went one way for the first time since I can remember. It's also the postal code of houses that have been abandoned because of flooding. Houses that have never seen that happen before. It's hard to say that climate change is not real when it's happening close to home. And that's what we're dealing with right now. Climate change is affecting all of us close to home. It's affecting the Thames River. It's affecting the rain. It's affecting the farmers. It's affecting everyone. The fact of the matter is, we have to do something now. But more than that, I do believe that the oil industry has no future. In 2015, we were going to election dealing with the fact that we actually had a recession that year. A recession in 2015 under the Harper government. And main reason for that is oil prices got too low for the Alberta economy, affecting everybody else. The pipeline is not going to save it. The pipeline is only triple the amount of oil being sent to foreign countries. 99% of the oil goes to the U.S. But it's understandable that the oil industry is just not being used anymore. It's just too expensive. It has no future. We have to get off of it, not only for the environment, but for our economy. We have to change to a renewable economy. It's the only way forward to the future. It is a job creator. It is the only way to provide the incentives, the help of people build Canada's economy. The fact of the matter is, if we don't do something now, it's going to be too late. We have to convert Canada from a resource-based economy to one that's able to add value to its resources. They have to build an economy that's going to go away from oil, and every other country is accepting it. We think we're going to be able to ship it to other countries. They're not accepting our oil. They're not interested. It's one of the filthiest, dirty oils in the world. They're not going to be interested in the oil. we're not going to be able to expand it. We have to get off of it. We have to start moving away from the oil industry because there is no future in it. The problem is it's just too expensive. It's not the same. It's not like before. We can just grab it out of the ground and easily put it in. It is far more expensive. And it's the biggest cost problem that we're facing today. That's why we're seeing that the car industry is not doing too well. Because the fact of the matter is people can't afford to drive because they can't afford the oil. And it's not because there's a carbon tax. That's a very small amount. We got to get off the oil.
All right. Dave, hand up. Go.
Let's talk climate. From a conservative perspective, is the climate changing? Let me unequivocally say yes, it is. Are humans impacting it? Yes, we are. Do we need to address it? Yes, we do. And is there a place for regulation? Yes, there is. But will a punitive tax policy, a carbon tax, get us there? No, it won't. A far better approach that isn't punitive when our biggest trading partner to the south is not pricing carbon, is investing in 3 areas. First of all, innovation. We've got world-class, high-tech sector based out of Waterloo. Why can we not export technologies to be developed as an economic generator as opposed to a punitive tax? We have got a cleaner, greener environment that we can do so much more from an agricultural perspective. We're in some of the most productive farmland in Canada. Cover crops, carbon sequestration. Agriculture is not getting nearly the benefit that an acknowledgement of what they're already doing, and there is more. We can do better there as well. And really good science. We need to transition. We need to use our natural resources through an energy corridor across Canada. The fossil fuel industry and the wealth that we have there will generate us through a conscious transition to a greener economy. Our automotive industry here is not at capacity. Why can't we combine our AI technology, the technology that produced the Canadarm for space, the CANDU reactor, why can't we combine that with our auto manufacturing capacity and be a world leader in green technology and electricity, electrical engines? That's where we go. We're not going to turn the tap off. We can't. That's unpractical, unrealistic. But we can move in that direction with the wealth that Canada has. Why are we bringing 50,000 barrels of Saudi oil into eastern Canada? Why don't we bring it in from Alberta? We can get there, but let's do it thoughtfully. Thank you.
And John.
We got to do it with common sense here. The Green Party pretty much just wants to jump into a green revolution. They keep on saying that there's no future for oil. But you got to realize there's lots of products that actually are dependent on fossil fuel. Plastics they use for cars, plastic that you use in your home, and many other more products that relies on it. You can't just suddenly turn up the tap and said we're gonna move on to a new green world. It doesn't work, and I don't think they ever thought of that at all.
Katie.
So the difference, I guess, between the Green Party and the Liberal Party is that the Liberal Party understands that the environment and the economy can't be against one another. They have to go hand in hand with one another, and there are ample opportunities in green technology and green industries to move forward and benefit our economy in Canada. We need to ensure that energy workers and communities can help to shape their future with access to training, to retrofitting, to move forward into new industries. We also know that Canadians aren't there yet. Is there anyone in this room who has an electric vehicle? So we're not there yet, but many want to get there. And so we're helping with things like rebates. We're helping to help Canadians make better decisions. So the carbon tax, as it's being called, is one decision that was brought in. I want to remind you that was brought in. We had a cap and trade program that was working. Doug Ford scrapped it. So the federal government gave a date for provinces to do something. They did nothing. And so we brought in this program. We brought in this program because it's worked in other countries. What it does is it encourages everyday Canadians to make decisions about their consumption of fuel. But we are giving every single cent back. It's not a tax. It's money that is being given back. It's a simple check mark on your income tax. And you get the money back. And some of the funds are going back to community groups and schools to make these changes, to fight climate change. And I also want to mention, in rural communities, that most of the fuels used on farms are exempt from this. So it's not impacting the farms. We need to make better choices as Canadians. We have a responsibility, but we also know that industry has to do the same thing. So we've put a price on pollution for industries, for big corporations.
10 seconds.
And we're encouraging them to do more by giving back money if they're investing in green technology, by cutting taxes if they're moving forward on climate change. We all need to work together
And
on this.
Tony,
We can't ignore it.
You are good to go.
I've been saying this whole week, this is our 8th debate, that we need to make better choices. And it's clear that that choice is an NDP government. How are we going to raise the money? We're going to tax the ultra-rich. Those that have 20 million or more in assets, we want to charge them 1%. Someone asked the question, let's just take the wealth out of the country and then we'll be something. We did the math. This has worked in some European countries, and it has not worked in some European countries. So the people that put this together figured out that if you charge a 1% tax, it's more expensive to transfer the funds out. As a banker, I can see that as well. It's better for the people that have 20 million and more, and there are over 20,000 of them in Canada. Someone do the math quickly. I don't want to do it in my head right now. It has been a long week. But that is going to create enough billions of dollars so that we can prioritize the climate. We want to invest $15 billion immediately in the environment, with $2.5 billion of it going towards municipalities so that they can prepare for when disaster strikes. We need to prepare their infrastructure to withstand extreme weather events. But then when disaster does strike, we have funds so that we can help out the municipalities, help out the homeowners. This is going to help us here in Chatham-Kent Leamington. We've seen on the news what's happening along our coastlines and the eroding shoreline. So again, it comes down to choices. We can choose to buy a pipeline, or we can choose to put in place dental care. We can choose to give oil and gas subsidies, or we can choose to create 300,000 jobs in a green energy corridor. Let's get the hydro and solar here. Let's get it out west, and let's get those people working. Thank you.
Mark, wrap it up.
I like how it seems that you're more interested in your own talking points than rebutting what I actually said. So I will actually address the one point that I felt that was addressing my actual issue, and that is the issue of plastics. I feel that we can't move away from plastic because we need oil to develop plastics. Well, first of all, there are alternatives. And secondly, the plastic industry, I'm afraid, is also in trouble. It may have heard recently a bunch of plastic has been shipped back to Canada. The problem is we can't get rid of it. We're just building too much, and there's nowhere to it to go. Recycling, unfortunately, is not as cost effective as we hoped it was, because the fact is the plastic becomes too contaminated, and then it takes a lot of energy and a lot of work to clean it up. What we've been doing was shipping it off to China, and they've got too much. So we've been shipping it out of the countries, and they're taking too much, and they're shipping it back to us, and we got to find something to do with it. If we don't move away from the plastic, we're going to be swamped in plastic. I don't think we want that. But the fact of the matter is, I do believe that the oil industry doesn't actually have a future. Saudi Arabia said so. Many American oil companies said so. A lot of companies are moving their investment away from oil. We think that the lack of investment in oil we see in Canada is just because of the fact of the lack of pipelines? No. They're actually doing more in Canada than in other countries. Around the world, they're moving away from oil. It's time for us to join that, because that is what everybody else, even the biggest oil-producing country in the world, says we're going to get off of it. Might as well join them, because that's the only way we're going to go.
Okay. Hey, how did they do? Awesome stuff. All right, so all the people watching at home, we're going to be here. We're going to start another round after a 5-minute break, so everybody can get up, hit the bar, do whatever you want to do, stretch out. Thank everybody for being here. Text your friends, tell your family to come on out for the next hour, and be back in about 5 minutes.
Good job, guys.
All right, welcome back to Live with Ben, and we are going to the question and answer period. We're not going to have a million questions because it takes 10 minutes to answer each question. So each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer. And then because of all the things I do, I always remember there's one more thing I want to say, and I always forget it to say it when I want to say it. So we're entering the 1 more minute card, okay? That's the one more thing that a candidate can use at any point to say, I want to add 1 more minute here. So they get to use it once during the question and answer period. So we're going to get started. So again, thank you to the 107 Cafe. Thank you to the staff here and the bartenders. They are awesome. They've just loaded up us with some more water. They've refilled many of your drinks out there. So good job. Thank you to them. Thank you to Matt. Thank you to Chris. Thank you all for showing up. And thank you all online for watching. So we are going to get started with a question. I just kind of was talking to somebody in the audience, and we're going to throw this out there. What is a local issue like seniors or economy that you are hearing that matters to you, that you think is huge? What are you going to do about it? And what is your party going to do about it? Dave, we'll start with you. 2 minutes.
A local issue that I hear, the number one issue that I hear at the doors, is actually a local issue, and it's also a national issue. It's the overall theme of affordability. We are in a good, relatively strong economy, and yet people feel, and I hear this over and over again, that they're not getting ahead, they're barely getting by. So what are we going to do about it? Well, in our platform, which is available online, have a look. Number of things we've announced. The universal tax cut, 15% down to 13 3/4 over the course of a 4-year mandate. Family tax credits, not boutique tax credits, because when they were removed, they were helping 1.8 million families. Restoring the child tax credit, the fitness tax credit, the arts and learning tax credit. Education, boosting RESP's contribution limits. Basically the overall theme, and that's the contrast between our platforms, to get at affordability by leaving more in your pocket. We are going to cut things. You've heard all those allegations about someone who's not running in this election. We're going to cut some things, but it's going to be the corporate giveaways. It's going to be the multi-billion-dollar loans to the Irving family. It's going to be $12 million that went to Loblaws for freezers. Those things will cut to fund and leave more money in your pocket. So what I will do, I will support our party, because each one of us, realistically, we're one of 338 folks that want to get to the House of Commons. Will work and support our party to address affordability concerns, because that's the number one issue I hear locally, and that's the number one issue that we hear across Canada.
Okay. Tony, we're going to you.
All right, so affordability through investing in rural communities. So the NDP has a plan for rural communities. We want to invest in broadband, infrastructure, and new opportunities for agriculture, which is very important to us here. Too many people in rural Canada, and right here in Chatham-Kent Leamington, pay top dollar for mediocre broadband services. Nearly 100,000 Canadians in 5,000 rural communities are still considered unconnected. So it's not just happening to us here. It's all throughout Canada and rural communities. Physical connection, including good infrastructure and rural transit, is also a major issue for us here. And farming families deal every year with uncertainty around market prices, trade deals, and tariffs. So the Liberals, they haven't shown up for rural Canada. They're completely focused on the needs of big cities, and they don't understand rural communities. They haven't invested enough in broadband, and they're too close to the big telecom companies that lobbied them over 500 times to bother fighting back against price gouging. And the Conservatives take rural communities for granted. They don't feel that they have to work hard to stand up for us. They didn't fight for broadband and infrastructure dollars any more than the Liberals did. What we want to do is connect every community with high-speed internet at reasonable prices, investing in taking on those telecom giants and introducing a cap on those prices. We'll make sure that communities are getting funding they need put in place for rural infrastructure and working to improve rural transit. And we want to fight for farmers' livelihoods with a food strategy that supports farming communities, helps young and new farmers get started, and ensure that farmers get payment protection, and end the unfair taxes on transferring family farms.
10 seconds. All right, let's go, Katie.
So we've talked already a lot about seniors, about climate change, about affordability. So I'm going to shift gears a little bit and talk about families, because we haven't really touch base on that yet. So within the new Liberal platform, I want to talk about some of the commitments that are being made. Let's talk about at the beginning of family life. So we are implementing a new 15-week leave for parents who adopt, as they've been traditionally left out of this. Tax-free maternity and parental benefits, and 15% more for children under 1 with the Canada Child Benefit, because we know that there's a lot of increased costs at this age. Going into preschool, we are going to bring in more support for early childhood educators, and we are working to lay the groundwork for a pan-Canadian childcare system. This will add 40,000 additional high-quality childcare spaces. Now talking about school-age children, we know that care is a very real concern for kids before school and after school. In communities like Chatham-Kent Leamington, many of us commute from one place to another within this region for work. We work long hours, and then we have the drive. And so it's difficult when you have young kids to know what to do with them, to be able to find affordable care, to be able to find reliable care. So we're investing in up to 250,000 new spaces for kids under 10, and we're planning to lower the fees by 10% across the country. And we want to make sure that these spaces are available for parents who work longer and parents who work different hours, because right now it is very difficult to find childcare if you're working other shifts rather than the day shift. So for families, that is our plan. I think it's important that people know that, because it's not getting as much attention out there. And it's important that everyone's supported in this community, whether you're a senior, whether you're a young person, whether you're just starting out your career. But families definitely need the support too, and that's how we will help them.
Mark.
The one issue I'm actually often hearing about is the problem we have with low-income housing. The fact, and unfortunately what too often happens is that someone wants to go and buy a house, they find the house, and they find there's already been 5 bids against them that same day it went on the market. The fact is that we do need more low-income housing in the area. And what we've seen built is $300,000 houses. That's far more expensive than most of the housing in the area. We believe it's time to actually have developers develop low-income housing. And we believe it's time to put incentives in place so if they're going to build the high-income housing, they should also build low-income housing. We also should develop more co-ops and provide assistance to the people who want to have our own homes. It's time to make sure that every Canadian has a place to stay. And I also believe it's time to have a Minister of Housing to make sure that that is made into place.
John.
Now, for those people who are not familiar with the PPC, go on our website and try to read up on our platforms. And you will notice that our platforms are based more on common sense compared to the other candidates here. But when I was canvassing around our riding, one of the biggest issues that people have asked me, what about healthcare? What is your party planning to do with wait times and the rising cost of healthcare? So as the People's Party, we will replace the Canada Health Transfer cash payment with a permanent transfer of tax point of equivalent value to the provinces and territories to give them a stable source of revenue. In practice, Ottawa will give up its goods and services tax and let provincial and territorial government occupy this fiscal room. So in 2019 to 2020, the GST is expected to bring in $40 billion in revenue, the same amount currently transferred by Ottawa. We will establish a temporary program to compensate poorer provinces whose revenue from the tax will be lower than the transfer payment they used to receive. We will create the condition for provincial and territorial government to innovate. They will be fully responsible for healthcare funding and management and fully accountable to their citizens for the results, while Ottawa will respect the Constitution and stop meddling with it.
Okay, how'd they do for the answers to the first question there? I've been sitting here and I got this tablecloth. I realized I could have wore flip-flops. Nobody would have been the wiser. Okay, so this next question, it's a long one. It, to me, is not one I would want to have to be in the hot seat to answer. I did give them a warning shot earlier about this question, but it's a long one. I'm going to read it, and then they're going to have to answer this. From a local concerned physician, why has the government turned doctors into villains, casting us all as money motivated in that patients are not our first priority? I worked 100 hours last week, not because I wanted to, but because I needed to. Did I sign up for that? Maybe. What I didn't sign up for was being vilified for being paid for working for a living, for no retirement benefits, no health care, no pension, and no access to WSIB. Just last week, I was spat on once punched once, and had to step in to stop a nurse from being punched. I have 3 questions. What are they going to do to repair the relationship with doctors that they created with their unilateral healthcare cuts and vilification of our motivations? What are they going to do to protect first responders, which most people forget include emergency room nurses and doctors? Emergency physicians currently have no access to resources for post-traumatic stress and have a higher suicide rate than other healthcare professionals. Prime Minister Trudeau removed the small business incentive tax. This affected doctors who run their own businesses and are responsible for employing thousands of people. Many nurses and office staff were laid off after the tax incentive was removed. Why are doctors excluded from the small business tax incentives when they personally employ tens of thousands of people across Canada? So that's a long one. I did give them a warning about it. Anybody want to take a shot at this, or you want me to pick? Tony, go for it.
Okay, so yes, funding has been cut. We all know that healthcare it falls under the jurisdiction of provincial, and that's what Dave likes to talk about and kind of pass the buck. But there is something we can do at a federal level. So currently, the funding, the Conservatives, the Stephen Harper Conservatives, cut the funding to healthcare. They used to pay 50% federally and then 50% from the provinces. So they cut it down to 75 for the provinces, 25 federally for those transfers. The Liberals said that they were going to put it back in place, 50-50. They did not. I'm not really surprised. It must be one of the 8% of the things they didn't do. What we can focus on, though, is how we can improve our healthcare. So we need to reinstate that investment, and it's very important. There's a number of things we can do. That workload, that's insane. I talked to a doctor last night at another debate, a young doctor. He's putting in those types of hours. He prioritized coming and listening to our debate when already he put in 80 hours the week so far. So it's a real problem. We need more family physicians. So we can only do that by increasing funding. And we need to make sure that people are getting medicine so they're not ending up in our emergency room. And as far as the bill of, I don't think most people think that doctors are villains, and that it's really tragic that this doctor feels this way. But with what's happening in an emergency room, as that to me seems like perhaps the folks that are in there need some very serious help if they're confrontational with emergency responders, nurses, and doctors.
10 seconds.
That is not the case. It should not be that way. Thanks.
Okay. Mark?
Well, healthcare is a provincial issue. Fortunately, I also study provincial elections as well, so I kind of know how to deal with this type of issue. Now, on the federal level, one of the things the Green Party wants to do is improve the health transfer and restore it to the accord they had before the Harper government. So it's actually based not on GDP, but on demographics and health-related needs. Also, with regard to the specific question, with regard to the issues with post-traumatic stress disorder dealt by paramedics because of the situation they faced, and I'm familiar with that type of situation because I'm in the industry, also feel like I'm often abused. We definitely would need to put more money into the mental health because, unfortunately, these people do need therapy. You may not understand until you get it, but I can understand that this is something that would get you benefit. Now, the thing is that one of the things we need to deal with is because the reason that doctors face this is people get frustrated by the wait times. I was talking to a nurse today about what can be done to improve it. And one of the important issues that we need to address is to smooth the healthcare system to be more efficient. The fact of the matter is, to give you an example, my wife had dealt with the problem with a kidney stone in Kitchener. She needed to have it dealt. But the fact is she was staying in Kitchener with her family and could not do anything. She came to Chatham, so she could make an appointment with somebody in Sarnia, which meant she had to go through the process twice to have it examined. Very inefficient to have to do the same thing twice when it could have been just done once. If we could do it in Kitchener, we could set it up and streamline the process. And that's one of the things to be developed now, that they need the money to do it so. We need to put the money into helping the hospitals develop the more efficient system and be able to communicate from one hospital to another
10 seconds.
so that you can go from one and can actually get deal with your results and your doctor and the hospital.
Dave.
Let me start with our talking points. We all have them. We all get them from the party. We all work at them. So I'll start with the talking points, right? The Conservative Party has committed to maintaining the existing healthcare transfer agreement and increasing it for the healthcare at least a minimum of 3% per year. So there will be no cuts on healthcare funding from a federal perspective. It is a jurisdictional area for the provincial government. Federal, we do contribute 25%. In addition, we're looking at adding $1.5 million, billion dollars in aging medical imaging equipment. During the first term, $1.5 billion, and that's for MRI and CAT scans to bring wait times in line with international standards, reduce wait times, and decrease we expect that demand to increase. Conference Board of Canada said that 5% of our workforce have been forced to leave because of those wait times. So there, that's the Conservative talking points you're going to hear. You've heard some, you're going to hear a bunch more. What's Dave Epp going to do? What I've committed to for a whole bunch of different issues, sectors, is committed, if I have the honor of representing you, to sit down on a sector-by-sector basis within the first 60 days, meet with folks, listen and learn. I'm not a post-traumatic stress syndrome expert. I won't pretend to be, but I will listen. And I will do what I can to advocate for those interests. Why does this doctor feel vilified? Well, it's because he was called a tax cheat by the federal government. It was pushback only that stopped the potential taxation of up to 73% of passive income within small business corporations, within professional corporations. How many people think that if we have 4 more years of a Liberal government, those attempts at taxation aren't coming back? Folks, they aren't tax cheats. They're hard-working folks. We need to maintain the income splitting options and those other tax revenues so they can continue to generate the jobs.
With regards to healthcare, I already read about what the PPC was going to do about it, and I'm not going to go over that again. That will probably bore you anyway. Now, with regards to answer the questions of the doctor, which is 3 points that he actually brought up here, what are they going to do to repair the relationship with doctors? We have to sit with doctors. We have to have a conversation with them, a discussion, to try to talk to them in person, to see what really is the problem, and to try to come up with a solution, rather than just calling them, vilifying them, accusing them of things like that. Accusation doesn't solve any problem. It just brings more problem into the table. If you accuse somebody, automatically they'll be in the defensive mode, and that's pretty much what's happening with the doctor at the moment. I don't think they have any what do you call those things? I'll come back to that. Okay. The next question is, what are they going to do to protect first responder, which most people forget, include emergency room nurses and doctors? Bear in mind, the healthcare industry are not only doctors. That includes nurses, that includes porter, that includes PSW, DSW, all of those people. And we have to do pretty much what we can. Again, we have to talk to them. What do you need in order to be able to do your job properly? What do you need in able to do your job safely? Talk to us, and we will try to work with you to come up with a solution so that you can do your job efficiently and safely. Now, the last one is Prime Minister Trudeau removed the small business incentive tax. This affected doctors who run their own businesses and are responsible for employing thousands of people. We have to stop that. Canada doesn't have enough doctors, and that is very evident to the amount of wait time people are actually experiencing. People are dying while they're waiting to see doctors. You want to see a specialist? It can take up to 6 months to a year. Most of the time, that amount of time you could be dead by the time you see those specialists. So that doesn't work. So we have to fix that.
And Katie.
Thank you. I believe that this is a very real issue. I have a friend who is from this riding, who is now a doctor in London, who had twins less than 2 years ago. And when that happened, I was due around the same time as she was, and I found out that she had no maternity benefits and no parental benefits, and I was in shock. I didn't know that this was the case with doctors. I think that we need to do a lot more work with physicians. I don't think it's fair, the way that the system is set up. I don't understand how they don't have access to some of the most basic things that are provided in other workplaces. And I will sit down with doctors and I will work with them to ensure that they have access to these things if wanted. And I know that there are doctors within our parliament, there's Dr. Hetty Fry and Dr. Carolyn Bennett, who would be very willing as well to sit down and to move forward on this, because I know that the treatment wasn't right. I'm not going to say it was right. I think that the government has recognized some of the issues in our healthcare system. Our healthcare is envied around the world. That doesn't mean it's perfect. Many people are falling through the cracks, including my own family members. I've witnessed it myself. It's not acceptable. So we need to make sure that we are supporting our healthcare workers, that the burnout isn't there, and we need to make sure that they are included in the programs regarding PTSD. We've done a lot in the past 4 years for frontline workers that include ambulance, fire, and police, but we haven't done enough for medical care. As a teacher, I know firsthand that many workers in different workplaces are now facing unprecedented violence, unprecedented mental health issues within their workplace, and as a result, get burnout and PTSD. So we need to expand that definition to ensure that more Canadians have access to PTSD treatment and mental health services. I'm committed to always working on issues that matter in our community. This one is one that matters across all of Canada. I'm always willing to listen, I'm always willing to learn, and I think this is an issue that the government got wrong, and we can do much better.
Great.
I'll use my 1 minute card.
Oh, we got the 1 minute. All right, go for it, Dave.
Just
One
going
more
to
thing.
add that within the present government, there was another doctor within the Liberal caucus, Dr. Jane Philpott. She was expelled. We all have to work within our parties. We all have to toe the party line in certain cases, but there are lines, and I respect people that have different philosophical approaches to how we should govern our lives. I think of Aristotle when I think of politics. Politics is the art of men. Today we would say free men and women. It was a different society then. Deliberating the question, how ought we to order our lives? That's what drives me into this politics. When someone stands up for integrity and then is tossed for breaking the law, the RCMP investigation is now being blocked. I respect that individual for, irrespective of their philosophical approach to government. There was a third person, a third doctor in caucus that's no longer there. Why?
All right, anybody else want to use that minute? Okay. To give you an idea how tough it must be for them, it took me 3 minutes to read that question, and I asked them to answer it all in 2 minutes. So good job, guys. How'd they do there, guys? So we are running way behind on time. This is going to be the actual last question. Then we're going to wrap it up with 1 minute each. They are available after this. We got Josh Inch playing a little bit of guitar out there. He's going to give us some entertainment. But you are able to ask these candidates one-on-one questions that you may have. They're going to be hanging around, and they're going to be doing that so that you have access to them to get informed and get questions that you want answered. So this is the last question of the night. It comes from a fellow realtor. Just so you know, it's a shameless plug. I am in real estate. Buy from me, sell with me. Okay, this is from Amber Pinsonneau, and she says, as a realtor and a property manager, I witness struggles with affordability throughout every stage of housing across Chatham-Kent Leamington. How will your party ensure a healthy housing mix that includes community housing, rental housing, and home ownership? We are going to start with Mark.
Well, as you may have noticed, I already mentioned housing. So I'd like to store for you extra points. First of all, the renovation, it's time for a home renovation program to make it more energy efficient in the homes, making them more cost effective. But with regard to the specific question, I'm actually going to read from a paper this time. We're going to create a Canada Co-op housing strategy that would update the mechanisms for financing co-op housing in partnership with CMHC, co-op societies, credit unions, and other lenders. We also could recognize that while housing is a provincial jurisdiction, the target would be 25,000 new and 50,000 rehabilitated units annually we need for low-income housing. Also, we're going to provide financing for non-profit housing organizations and cooperatives to build and restore quality, energy-efficient housing for seniors, people with special needs, and low-income families. And I'd also like to mention the guaranteed annual income plan, which is going to make sure that every Canadian is guaranteed a specific level of income, thus reducing the inefficiency of having welfare, unemployment insurance, pension plan, and all that into one simple program so every Canadian is guaranteed to have a basic income and they can feel secure and standard that no matter what happens, they will be safe.
Okay. John.
Housing is indeed a provincial issue. Therefore, we have to work with the provincial government. We have to work with them closely to make certain that they have the funding necessary to make housing affordable, so that they have the tools that they can use so that they can build housing for those low income and middle class if they need to.
Katie.
The Liberal government brought in the first ever national housing strategy because we know how important this issue is. The cost of housing has risen drastically across the country. It's risen right here in Chatham-Kent Leamington, but we are actually in a better position than most communities in Canada. So that tells you how bad it is here, or how bad it is in Canada. Because right now, most young people can't afford to buy a new home, whether it's here or elsewhere in Canada. So I want to talk about just a few things that have happened and what I will fight for in this community tied to this strategy. Part of the strategy is tied to homelessness. The goal is to reduce homelessness by 50% by 2025. This is a real target that is being met. All homeless veterans are not going to be homeless by 2025. They're doing work right now. They're building homes that are connected to services like PTSD services and mental health services, and it's long overdue, to be frank. We have created 100,000 new housing units, repaired and renewed more than 300,000 housing units, and starting in 2020 will offset rental costs by the average of $2,500 per year. Have we had any of this in Chatham-Kent Leamington? No. We've seen builds in Windsor and retrofitting in Windsor and London. We haven't had someone fighting for those units right here, and I will fight to make sure that we get that right here in our riding. I also want to talk about first-time home buyers because it's tough. I've been there recently, not too long ago. Thankfully, I got into the market before the prices started to rise because it's not realistic for most young families right now to be buying a home. And so the first-time home buyer incentive makes it much easier, and it allows people to take part in a home purchase through a shared equity mortgage with the Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. And it really brings the cost down for those people. It makes it possible. Things like the Canada Child Benefit also make it possible because families can save the money they need for their down payment because they're getting that money to use for their children, and they can actually save. We can't expect to buy homes if we can't save, so we need programs like this to help them.
Go ahead.
4-point plan from the Conservative Party. First of all, just for a background, 86% of young people do want to buy a home. And certainly one thing we will address is the mortgage stress test and fix that and remove that, or lessen that, I should say, to be more accurate, as a barrier to first-time buyers and to remortgagers. Secondly, increase the amortization periods to 30 years. That will unfortunately lengthen the time it takes to pay off your home, but hopefully will bring the cost into a range where folks can afford it. The last 2 points of our plan aren't as applicable here locally, but we'll launch an inquiry into money laundering into the real estate market. That's primarily into the Vancouver and a few other areas, and also make surplus federal real estate available for development. Again, not quite as applicable here as it is in some of our urban centers. But the number one thing that we will do to help folks at any level of the housing market is work at the affordability issue that we have across our economy. Folks, our intention is to leave more money in your pocket. That will help first-time buyers, people looking to upgrade their homes, and help the economy in general.
Tony.
Thank you. It's a great question. I've spent over 20 years in banking. I've helped thousands of families over that time get mortgages, buy homes. I really believe that everyone should have a home that they can afford. And I don't think that giving them $300 in income tax back is going to make a difference, quite frankly, Dave. We need to make sure that they're not spending $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in services that aren't provided to them any longer. But the reality is that too many Canadians are stuck in housing that's too expensive or doesn't fit their needs, but they feel like they have nowhere to go. We have a real solution. We have a real plan. And by making choices of where we're spending the money, we can accomplish this plan. We want to create 500 units of quality affordable housing within the next 10 years. We want to double the home buyer's tax credit to $1,500 for first-time home buyers. We want to remove HST for the construction of new rental units. We want to reintroduce 30-year terms for CMHC, so those insured mortgages, so that people's payments can be a little bit less. We want to add $5 billion in spending on affordable homes in the first 18 months of our mandate. And we want to set up fast start funds available to communities to kickstart construction of co-ops social and nonprofit housing. I think that's key. We also want to invest $40 million over 4 years in a shelter enhancement program. Just because the Liberals haven't gotten it done doesn't mean that it can't be done. It's time to think big and deliver results for us here in Chatham-Kent Leamington.
Anybody want one more minute here? No. Okay, Katie, go for it. 1 minute.
Thank you. So I just want to talk about representation. We're all up here because we want to represent our community, and we're all tied to a certain party. But that doesn't mean that we can't stand up for our communities, and that seems to be have been suggested a few times tonight. I truthfully believe that the Liberal Party has the best vision for Canada. It has a vision for all Canadians to ensure that everyone can live a life in dignity, everyone can have opportunity. But it doesn't mean I agree with everything, and it doesn't mean that there aren't good ideas from other parties that should be considered. I hate how overly partisan our country has become, how we are attacking one another in the House of Commons. Yeah. I don't like how it's often said that they're acting like grade 5 students, because I teach grade 5 students and they don't act that way. And so I just want to say that I will work across party lines. I will work with all levels of government for what's best for Chatham-Kent
Leamington. Anybody else want to add 1 more minute? Nope. Okay. Awesome stuff. So that wraps it. Before we end this, I each get 1 minute to just kind of close it out. If you're watching online and you like what your candidate or the person you're supporting is saying, share that. Get out there and vote October 21st. It's very important. I'd like to apologize to all the people that are blowing up my phone with questions, asking me why they can't stay up here for about 30 more hours to answer them. So it's not them, it's me cutting it off, not them. So I'll keep on taking the hits on that. They are available after this to answer your questions one-on-one or with a group. I just ask that you give them a couple minutes to kind of regroup after we end here, so they can grab themselves some more water before answering questions. So I want to take this opportunity again to thank all of you for showing up. Matthew Tape for putting this on. Chris Glassford for the sound. Without this... Without them, we just don't do this, right? And Brent Deneward, the 10-7 Cafe, and all their staff, amazing job for them. So thank them. Big round of applause for them, please. Okay, so again, share this, like this, comment, and we're going to end it with each person getting 1 minute. Mark, let's start with you.
A campaign is basically an interview process. Each of us are trying to get you to hire us. The fact of the matter is that you're obviously going to choose one of us. Understandably, you people will tend to choose party, but apparently things are changing and people are looking on the candidates. So let me tell you this. I grew up in this area. I went to Waterloo and came back. I lived at my family's business and worked with them to work with all the farmers in that area, and have dealt with many areas and many people. And I know what we have dealt with, understand the problems we're having. This has been really bad for you, all of us, because of the changes in climate. And I think we can fix it. And I believe that Canadians are seeing that as well. And that's why the Green Party has been growing popularity. And that's why I believe it's time to vote for Green Party. My name, Mark Vercouteren.
Okay. Dave.
As you've heard tonight, affordability and integrity, two of the issues we're all hearing at the doors. You're going to have a new member of Parliament. That we know. The Liberal Party, their slogan, choose forward. Don't look back at the last 4 years. Our slogan, it's time for you to get ahead. It's how we address the affordability issue. We need someone here locally who has the skills and experience to work inside their party to advocate for the local needs. I've done that for 30 years with an agriculture. I've been elected over 70 times, not at the public level. I'm asking for that first time from you folks tonight. I am committed to working for you nonstop, full-time, all in. I commit to listen, hold roundtables, and then lead by example in Ottawa. Thanks, folks, for listening, and I respectfully ask for your vote.
Tony.
Well, thank you. I know people here are worried about serious issues, Life is getting more and more expensive and wages aren't keeping up. We've had both liberal and conservative governments in Ottawa that haven't lived up to their promises. They haven't worked for you, but instead they've been working for the biggest companies and their lobbyists. But I want you to know that I'm in this for you, and the New Democrats are in this for you. I'm asking for your vote because I'm ready to work hard for this community. I'm ready to fight to make life more affordable, improve the public services that we need, bring in universal pharmacare, and take bold action on the big global issues that we're facing. By sending me to Ottawa, I can promise you that you will elect someone that is on your side.
10 seconds.
I'm Tony Walsh for Chatham-Kent Leamington. I'm in it for you. Thank you.
Katie?
I want to take the time to talk about two quick things instead of a closing. One, tourism. This area has vast potential, and we need to capitalize on it. There is a federal tourism strategy that started in May of this year. It's the most comprehensive and all-encompassing approach to tourism that Canada has ever taken. And we need to make sure that we are getting our fair share of funding right here on tourism, and then we're fighting for it. Because we have vast potential in ag tourism, in cultural tourism, in ecological tourism with our beaches and our trails in the Great Lake. But we have to make sure we're taking care of the Great Lake and we don't have the algae blooms there. And the Liberal government has done that. We need to empower communities and business owners and everyone to work together to put this area back on the map. And tourism has the opportunity to do this. But I also want to talk to you about leading by example because I just heard this. And last night, there were personal attacks made against me by Mr. Epp. While I was at a debate with Tony and with Mark, we were at the Chatham Chamber debate, we showed up. And I just want to let you know that I will always show up and lead by example.
All right. Before we wrap it up with John, for those watching at home, for all you, they will be available to ask questions to later. If you're watching at home and you want to come hang out, Josh Hinch is playing. Thanks again for everybody for showing up. Again, it's going to be a mix and mingle right after. Actually, I'm going to be talking. I see my old football coach, Mr. Kelly, out there, and I'm going to be hanging out with him hopefully and talking to him for a little bit. So, John, wrap it up for us.
Woo, woo!
I love democracy, and democracy is what brought me here, being able to participate in the electoral process in Canada. So on October 21st, regardless of who you are voting for, go out and vote, because that's the only way democracy will work for its citizens to actually participate. Now, the slogan of the Liberal, they said they want to get ahead. They already went ahead and left you, the people, behind. Right? Now, the Conservative, their slogan said, move forward. They have moved forward long before. So, and again, they left you, the people, behind. The way we have to do this, the PPC, we want to move together as a unit, as a country, as a people, to try to rebuild our country. Because the Liberal has made pretty much broke it down, and this Conservative did it before that too. There's lots of work to be done, and I'm counting on you to work with me to fix the problem that they have created.
Awesome. Okay, guys, and that pretty much wraps up. I want to I've already thanked everybody enough, but these candidates, this is not easy for them to do. This is very difficult for them to do. They are out here for you, and they are out here to make our country better. So I want to take this moment to really thank them for trying to do what they want to do and doing what they're doing.
Yep.
That's a cue for you guys to clap. Thank you guys. Thank you very much. And that's it.
Great job, man.
Good job, man.
Hosting.
Good job.
That's all right.
That was pretty good. You guys.